collapse. So, yeah.
Yeah. So you've got 1 minute, and
Sure.
Nazanin's case as well as the UN sanctions. I don't know if you can do that in 1 minute. Good luck.
But okay, well, there was the one about Iran, and because I've been commenting a lot on it, let me answer it this way, please, in terms of whether it might force some kind of change or humanitarian efforts or release of people, is that right now with the downing of that airplane, Iran, I believe, has a golden opportunity to show its good side, if there is a good side at all, to allow investigators in, to allow for a thorough and transparent investigation. But really importantly, the next big steps, there's a meeting tomorrow, by the way, of the grieving nation's foreign ministers, is to agree on repatriation of bodies, but also compensation. But the main thing is going to be allowing access to investigators, and then it could create some kind of goodwill, I think, in the international community for further progress there. I'm sorry, I have to say something about climate change, because this affects, I think, everything we talked about. We always look at triggers, what forces or what motivates people to move. Oftentimes it's joblessness or hopelessness, but when you have no food and water, you're going to move and find it. So a lot of the countries we're talking about in the Middle East, for example, 50% more or less have populations of 30 or under. They're all looking for hope and jobs. One last thing, when we talk about climate change or hopelessness, we often talk about the developing world, but I just came from Miami and Florida, and even there, climate change is already beginning to affect property values with daylight flooding. And also one interesting thing there is that the big trigger point there in terms of the real estate market collapsing will be in places like Fort Lauderdale, when you have these canals with sailboats with very tall masts owned by millionaires. The moment, because of rising water, those masts can no longer travel under the bridges and into the Atlantic Ocean, that's when the big collapse will happen.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. That's it. Yeah, that's all we have got time for. Thank you so much for all the questions and for coming here. Thank you.
Great.